We're going to talk about how to flip foreclosed houses. What you're going to learn today is the foreclosure process, how to find homes before they go into foreclosure, how to find homes in foreclosure that have equity so you can do something with these homes. Remember, we're looking for equity and motivation. Those two are the key for us. How to structure deals that actually make money. So let's start by talking about foreclosure and what it really means. I find this term is so confusing for people. They maybe know somebody that's gone through a foreclosure or they've heard the term before, but they don't understand the process. And understanding the process is paramount to be able to invest in it. So foreclosure, when a loan is made on a property, the property is used as security or also collateral for that loan. And if the person doesn't pay, the lender can take the property or take the collateral from the person that they loaned the money to. The legal process of how a lender takes a property back to become the new owner of that property is called the foreclosure process. So it's the process of somebody that loaned the money now getting rid of the prior owner and becoming the new owner. That's really what the foreclosure process is all about. Now, every state's a little bit different, but the principles are the same. And I'll show you how that works here in just a minute. But we're going to use some terminology that works for everything. So you'll have an idea with this. So let's talk about the foreclosure and what it means. So there are mortgage states and there are trust deed states. So some states are mortgage states and other states are trust deed states. This basically means the legal instrument that's used to collateralize the security against the property. So it doesn't really matter. Mortgage state, trust deed state, yes, there's some pros and cons if you're a lender, but if you're dealing with as an investor, it's just a little bit different of a process. This will show you here the states that are mortgage or trust deed states. So you can look like in Georgia, they're a deed of trust state. If you look in, who else do we have here? In Texas, you've got a deed of trust state. So it gives you an idea. The other thing you've got to be familiar with is a judicial versus a non-judicial foreclosure process. Basically, one has to go in front of a judge, thus called judicial, and one does not have to go in front of a judge unless there's a conflict. In other words, it's a non-judicial foreclosure, meaning a judge will never see a non-judicial unless there's a conflict or unless somebody actually objects to it, and then it'll go in front of a judge. So the process of foreclosure, let's talk about this. There's basically 4 phases, and then it becomes an REO. So these are the 4 phases, and then it becomes a real estate owned. So there's a payment default, there's a notice of default, there's a notice of trustee sale, there's a trustee sale, and then it becomes real estate owned. Real estate owned means the lender now owns the property and is the new owner of the property. Okay, payment default. This is when the borrower is behind on payment. So you've missed a payment. This can be as early as the day after a payment is due. Most banks in their note give a grace period. It's typically a 15-day grace period. So many banks won't start a foreclosure though until 90 days after the default, meaning you've missed 3 payments, and that's when they'll start saying you're in default. The first 90 days, they're going to report you as late. They're going to hit your credit and those types of things, send you some reminder letters, but typically they won't take more action until you're past day 90. Now they could. They have the right to do that, but they typically don't do that until they hit day 90. So this is really important to realize. This is completely at the bank's discretion. So then at some point here, the bank's going to send what they call a demand letter. And this is basically like a legal letter that says, hey, this is getting really serious. You've missed some payments. If you don't pay soon, there are going to be big problems, like we're going to have to take the property back. And so they usually send that to kind of scare you and say you've got to do it. Let's say the payment is not made. You don't make the payment. You get to this 90-day. Then what's going to happen is the bank is going to file a notice of default, or what's called a lis pendens, which means legal action. This is typically 90 days after that payment's not made, so 3 months after. And some states will put this on your front door. They have to put it in a conspicuous place, not an inconspicuous place, like right on the front door. So they wouldn't post those on the front door. A lot of people think they can't take those off. So when they get them, if you've drove past the property and there's a notice on the front door, notice of default, some owners don't think they can take it off. That's one of the first things that I do is take it off and say, you don't have to keep this on your door and tell everybody about it. The reason they're doing that is in most of the states, they're saying, hey, you've got to put it somewhere where they can't miss it. And the front door is a pretty conspicuous place. Some states then put it on the front door. We talked about that. Typically, the bank will give them another 90 days. It could be less. It could be more before they move to the next stage. It just depends, and it's completely at the bank's discretion, although there is some state law that says you have to wait so long between the notice of default or the list pendants before you can move to the next stage. Typically, give or take, it's 90 days. These are important because I'm going to show you how to go after these specific people here in just a minute. Okay, so then if a lawsuit's filed, the borrower has the right to respond. So this is basically a bank filing. This is in a lis pendens type situation. And then the court can actually enter a judgment. Then the borrower has the right to redeem. So basically in this situation, the sale happens, but then the borrower has the right to redeem it. And if they miss the redemption period, then the bank ends up owning the property. Now, if it's a notice of trustee sale or an auction notice, this says we're going to sell the home at this place at this time. So you get behind your payments, they send a demand letter, then they do a notice of default, and then they're going to do a notice of trustee sale or an auction notice. And this says at this place at this time, we're going to hold an auction on this property. This is typically 21 to 30 days prior to the sale actually happening. This number is really important because you want to hit your marketing or you want to go knock on the doors during this specific time period. And typically, it must be published in a local newspaper 3 weeks in advance. It depends on where you're at. Again, this is going to vary from state to state, but this gives you the idea enough that you can then go market to these guys. And there's a pro tip on this. Don't plan on your local newspaper having these notices because they are not required to go into every newspaper. They're only required to go into a special newspaper. So what somebody did is they start up a little newspaper where they just print legal notices, and then you have to go and get that legal notice newspaper. But I'm going to show you with Investor's Edge where you don't even have to waste your time with that. So Investor's Edge will show you exactly how to do this. Trustee sale / auction. So next what happens is there's the trustee sale or there's the auction of the property. There's a date, there's a time, there's a place, the notice of trustee sale, and then the sale happens. The lender will calculate an opening bid. At the auction, the lender can bid less than what's owed to them, and they can bid up to what's owed to them. So let's say the lender is owed $150,000 with late fees and penalties and attorney's costs and all that type of stuff. Okay, so what's going to happen is the lender could start at $100,000, right? And then Bill could bid $105,000, and the lender could say $110,000. So the lender can bid up. They can start as low as they want, and they can bid up to what they are owed with late fees, penalties, attorney's fees, all that type of stuff. Now, why would a lender want to start low? Well, the reason is they can go after the borrower for whatever the deficiency is. So the lower that bid is, the more they can go after the borrower for in the deficiency in most cases. They also may want to start low so they can get people attracted to the auction. The lender can accept less than what's owed on the property. And if someone bids over what the lender wants, not what they're owed, but what the lender wants. If the lender is willing to take 120 and somebody bids 121 and the lender doesn't bid over the 121, that person would end up with a property. So that's what's really important to realize here. And if not, then the bank becomes the owner. So if nobody bids on the property, that property goes back to the bank, and the bank then becomes the owner of the property at that point in time, unless it's got to go through a redemption, which we talked a little bit about earlier. So quick pro tip, when you buy a public auction, there is no title insurance. This is really important. There have many wannabe real estate investors that they thought they were buying a first position loan and they end up buying a second position loan. And this is a major problem. One of the reasons why it's a major problem is you then have to foreclose on the first position in order to get it. And so you can find yourself in a bad situation, meaning they'd have to foreclose to become the property owner. Another pro tip, you typically only have cash. You have to have cash within 24 hours of your bid. And this isn't you get a loan. This isn't you call a hard money lender. This is like cash 24 hours after the auction happens. And in most cases, you have to have a check for $5,000. You typically get a cashier's check or a bank check, make it to yourself, and then you have it and you can endorse it over to the attorney when that actually happen, when the sale actually happens. Okay, then we get to the real estate owned, REO. This is when the property is not sold at the auction. It goes back to the lender. The lender then becomes the owner of the property. So if the property is occupied, the lender will then have to do an eviction or have to do a cash for keys. So they have to evict out who may be living in the property, or give them some money to get them to move out of the property. That's the eviction / cash for keys. If the property is not sold at the auction, then the lender becomes the owner of the property, like we just talked about. So let's get in the meat and potatoes of this then. You understand the process now. So how can you actually get some foreclosure deals? Well, first off, there's what's called the pre-foreclosure phase. This is before it becomes an REO or real estate owned. Then you have the post-foreclosure phase, and this is once it is an REO. In this situation, you're actually buying from the bank, but you could be buying for the bank before the bank actually lists the property on the multiple listing services with an agent. So there's a great opportunity here. Public notices. It starts with public notices. Public notice is when the official document is filed with the city or the county. This information is public. So if somebody's getting foreclosed on, this isn't a secret. It's public information. You can go down to the county recorders, you can go through piles of data, and you can actually find it. Or you can use Investor's Edge, and I'll show you a little bit about this in a minute. Then you get into the pre-foreclosure. If you're behind on payments is not something that is public notice. So if you're behind on payments, nobody knows that. But once they file the notice of default, then everybody knows that you got behind on your payments. Notice of default or lis pendens, or when they do the notice of sale saying we're going to sell or auction the property off. Post foreclosure, this is the bank-owned properties, right? This is when the bank actually owns it. Notice of default, these people are typically 90 days behind on payments. We talked about that earlier. These are worth going after, but many of these people put their head in the sand. So what I mean by this is when that notice of default comes out, a lot of people may just say, you know what, I'm going to wait. I'm going to hopefully work this out. So they may not be quite as motivated. Not saying they all are, but they may not be quite as motivated. So they think they'll resolve the problem later. These can be a little less motivated. Now, the notice to sell is different. The notice to sell, this is really, really serious, meaning they only have a month to figure this out before the auction actually occurs. So now they're in desperation mode, and these are more motivated. There's a very firm time frame on when they're going to get booted out. Now, they typically would have to get evicted after the foreclosure happens, but they know it's imminent. It's coming. Default released. They've had a default, but they have either paid and or brought the property current. So this is a whole other default release. Or they did a payment plan workout. Auctions. You can go to the auction and you can bid. Keep in mind, we talked about it, no title insurance and no way to get inside the property. Bank-owned properties, you can contact the bank and buy or offer them from them. So let me show you how to do this. So I'm going to switch on over to Investor's Edge. This is kind of my step-by-step on Investor's Edge. Let me pull it right over here. If you haven't seen, this is our back office. We've got all kinds of cool stuff back here. But let's come to Investor's Edge. And I told you guys I was going to do this in Georgia. So Georgia. Let's just do Atlanta. Let's do Atlanta, Georgia, just so we have a good feel here. So this is just Atlanta, Georgia, and this date is always changing all the time. So what I want to do here, I want to find some pre-foreclosure. So I'm going to come here. I am going to come to our pre-foreclosure and bank owned. Okay, I'm going to come to status. Now I can choose notice of default or lis pendens, which we just talked about. This is the people that just got behind on their payments. Or I can click on auctions. These are actually going to the auction. Default release means they got it current some way. So I can go after those guys thinking they may have a problem later. I can go after bank-owned properties, or I can just exclude foreclosure. So let's just say notice of defaults, okay? So I'm just going to click on that. So this is telling me notice of defaults, and we have to reset all this. And then the next thing that I want to do is do the values. Actually, it looks like I need to. I got logged out, guys. It's been sitting. I had it set up before we started here, so it's got to re-log in. Okay, let's just get Atlanta, Georgia. Hopefully that works well for us. Okay, we got a bunch of properties there. Pre-foreclosure, status. Let's do notice of default, and let's don't do default release. Let's do notice of auctions. Okay, there we go. So we've got the auction properties here as well. So I've got a few of those. So we've got properties, but I want to make sure they actually have equity, because if they don't have equity, it doesn't matter. So I come here to equity and I type in 50,000. I want to have at least $50,000 worth of equity, and I have 161 properties here that are in the middle of a foreclosure. What foreclosure did we say? Notice of default, or they're at auction stage, meaning they're starting to move forward with that auction stage, and I've got those, and they all have $50,000 worth of equity. And if I want to take it a step further, I can come to MLS status and say they are not currently on the market, which is going to be a smaller list. So here are 135 properties in Atlanta, Georgia that are going through a foreclosure process that have $50,000 worth of equity that are not listed on the MLS. Okay? This list is gold. This is gold. This list is gold. Are you kidding me? This is amazing. Okay, so basically what you can see here is you can see what's going on. And you can even see the mailing address. So this is actually even more interesting because the owner of this property does not live in the property. So I can go contact this owner, or I can come and I can skip trace. I'll show you the skip trace here in just a minute. Let's just grab another property here. It's just loading slow because we've got that. Okay, so we've got another one that's a out-of-state owner, or no, that's not an out-of-state owner, but it's an investment deal. So, and then what I can come here is I can come here and do a skip trace where I can skip trace it, which will get me their email address and their phone number, and then I can call them. Then I can come here and start doing a campaign. Let's just come to new campaigns. Let's just cancel out of that. Start first campaigns. I wanted to show you. Okay, let's just do test. And let's see, save. Oh, I don't have anybody in this. It's going to take just a minute, but with this, I can actually do a postcard. I can do a voice broadcast right in here from the campaigns after I've done a skip trace if I want to do the skip trace. So anyway, I'm hoping that that's really helpful just to give you a feel for the way. So this is one of the ways that you can actually find those properties as you're going through them, is you can go through, find these auction properties or notice of default properties, look for stuff that's on the market. So these homes have $50,000 worth of estimated equity and are not on the market for sale and have a notice of default. This is a golden list and it's changing every day. So how do we get these guys? You can stop by and knock on the doors. You can call them. You can do a voice broadcast to them. You can email them directly, or you can do a postcard. So let's talk about this. What's the cost with each of these? So if you want to stop by and just knock on the doors, we're just talking about your time here. You can do that. I know lots of people, lots of friends. This is how they do it. I have a guy that he runs his whole business knocking on doors with notice of sales. You can call them. To do that, you'll need to skip trace the phone numbers. About 70% of them are good phone numbers that cost around 30 cents each one. You get the email, you get the phone number if they end up being able to get a phone number. And you may get an older phone number for them, so it may not be that great of a phone number, but it's going to be a step ahead of your competition. Think about this. Very few people are going to do a skip trace to try and find somebody's phone number. So if you're willing to invest 30 cents, you're going to be heads above other people, but you're going to have to do several of them because not all of them are going to work out. So pro tip, you only pay if they get a name and email for you, but you pay even if the number is no longer that person's number. It will have been associated to them in the past, so about 70% of the time you'll get them. Next, let's talk about voice broadcast. This is the computer calls them and it doesn't ring. It just goes straight to voicemail and leaves a voicemail for them. Some areas have great success with this. Other areas don't have great success. I recommend you do a trial of 500 to 1,000 voice broadcasts. And there is a cost to do the voice broadcast. You have to skip trace and then do the voice broadcast. But a pro tip also is get a Google Voice number. You'll have a lot of people that just call and they're upset. How'd you get my info? They're upset about it, whatever the case is. So you can screen those guys out and just call back the people that are interested and set up a Google Voice number so that when they call, they're going to get a voicemail and then you can listen to it and call back the people you want to. Emailing, you have to skip trace. That's included in the prices above that we talked about, that 30 cents. And you just send it out an email. Postcards. You have to have the email address, which we actually have. I showed you those addresses of where to mail to, where the property taxes are sent. So you can send that out to where those property taxes get sent out. And it's just the cost of postage, right? So you got to print it and do the postage and that type of stuff. And Investors Edge has preset postcards, so you don't have to do any designs. You don't have to have any design fees. They're all ready to go. So, and actually, I'm going to give you a letter for a pre-foreclosure here at the end, get you a free copy of that. Postcards, it comes down down to how many postcards you do at once. So, 500 to print and ship is about 50 cents each. Plan to mail 1,500 to 2,500 to actually end up getting a deal. So you're going to have to spend, $1,000, $500, something like that. You'll make the phone ring and you'll start seeing some deals. Okay, so my question for you, who is going after pre-foreclosure properties? Was this interesting to you? What questions do you have on the pre-foreclosures or foreclosure properties and how you can be investing in them? Let's see, we got a couple of comments here. George Cash, I'm loving your vibe. I can't believe I overlooked you chat for months. Let's go. Appreciate it, George. That's awesome. Who's going to be going after some foreclosure properties? If you are, what are you planning to do? How are you planning? Please put some notes in the chat. Put some notes in the comment section. Let me know. Okay, our complete system that takes brand new investors through flipping their first home is called our Find, Fund, Flip system. Dozens of hours of trainings, deal finding software, access to our 100% financing loans, dohardmoney.com/get started. If you're interested in this, I can't remember who was asking earlier. Oh, Riche, if you're interested, check this out. This could be helpful for you. Go to dohardmoney.com/get started. I also promised you guys this. If you want a free pre-foreclosure letter to download, you can do that at dohardmoney.com/foreclosure-letter, which actually, that reminds me, I probably should send these links out real quick to you so you can get those. Let's hope this works out really well. While I'm doing that, whoops. Okay, so hopefully that actually works well. And then let me actually give you this one as well. Hopefully this link is actually going to work. If this is helpful, it's not for everybody, so we want to make sure we're working with the right people, that it's a good fit for everybody. So, Roche, looking up now. Appreciate it. Check it out. Okay, and go get a copy of that foreclosure letter. It's one you can send when you want to actually do the mailers. That could be really helpful. So, again, if you missed us last week, we went over for rent by owner, how to find properties that most people overlook, easy ways to get sellers to answer their phones, timing, finding the right person at the right time, finding properties with no marketing expense. We went through all that. Check us out on YouTube. How do you construct your offer on pre-foreclosures? Great question, George. I have a one-page offer form that I use because I don't work with any agents on that. So I'm basically going to market to them, get them interested, make them an offer, and I have a one-page offer sheet that I just write it up and I have them sign it while I'm there, or I send it over to them in a DocuSign type thing and just have them sign it if you're doing an over-the-phone closing. So, George, I hope that helps. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. Okay, future live casts. I need to know what you guys want to see here in the future. What live casts would you want to hear about? So put in the comments here what you want to hear, either in these comments or in the recorded video. Do you want to know about wholesaling? Do you want to know about determining repair costs, coronavirus investing, wholesaling remotely, choosing good contractors, virtual wholesaling, finding cash buyers, seller financing, contractor bids, determining rental prices, preparing for cash flow, business partner deep dive, reverse wholesaling, finding cash buyers deep dive, seller negotiating at the kitchen table, income properties, sales skills, closing a deal, all the players, auction properties, subject to deals, determining repair amounts, buying properties remotely, making offers without seeing the property, or anything else. What would you like to see for future live casts? Type it in the comments, and we can work on those and bring some of those to you. Okay, Carl's asking, sometimes these folks pre-foreclosures are several months behind on payments. How do you recommend making up the payments if you don't have the cash? Great question, Carl. You actually don't have to make up the payments. What I recommend doing is getting a loan and paying off the back payments and paying off the loan in its entirety with a private hard money lender. And with that, then you have money to do the rehab, plus you have money to do to pay them off in full. So you don't have to go make their payments. You just get it under contract and say, I will pay this, and you you can make sure that covers, with that equity that we're looking at, it should more than cover what they owe plus any back payments, but you can actually call and get a payoff from the lender so you know exactly what's owed. Carl, I hope that helps. If not, put it in the comments. Ray Goodman wants to know about choosing good contractors. All right. Zelda wants to know about choosing good contractors. Okay. That sounds interesting. Sounds like something we need to do. What else do you guys want to hear about? Please type it in the chat here. Also, getting your free pre-foreclosure letter. Go over there to dohardmoney.com/foreclosure-letter. Download a free copy of that. It's one you can send out as you are working with people. Okay, if you enjoyed what you heard today, please share the link on YouTube with several friends, or you can also check out my podcast at Income Hacker. Check out Income Hacker. Do I have any Income Hacker listeners? If so, make yourself known. Let me know. Carl, thank you. You're more than welcome. Okay, what else we got here? Today's swag winner. Okay, let's the moment you've all been waiting for. Okay, so like I said, this one, we've got the hats, we've got the financial freedom, opening the door of financial freedom. That's got our 10 steps to success in here. We've got the forms and everything that we've got on the USB drive. I mean, this is worth a ton of money right here. We're going to send it out to a winner. We've got all the other swag that we went through earlier, so we're going to be announcing a winner. Who's excited about announcing a winner? Who wants to be the winner for next week? All right, let's see here. Today's swag winner is Sharon Z. Zevenbergen. I hope I'm saying that right. Sharon, are you with us today? If so, make yourself known. Again, we give this out based upon the best comments, the interaction during and on the recorded YouTube videos. I'm sorry. Holy cow. Sharon was last week's winner. Okay, that was last week's winner. I totally messed up on that. Sharon was last week's winner. Today, our winner with the stuff we just talked about, our winner is Bob German. Bob, are you with us today? If so, make yourself known. And if you're not, you can, if you're here as well, go to support, email support@dohardmoney.com. Subject line needs to be swag winner in the body. Give us your screen name if it's different, your mailing address, your cell phone number, your email, and we will send you out your free swag kit. Bob, this whole package has got your name on it, so email us in so we can get that sent out to you. Roche, hopefully next time it will be you. We do have this week's winner. We'll be talking on our next live cast next week. If you want to get free swag today, like Roche, if you want to help us out, you can email support@dohardmoney.com and say earn free swag. We'd have you help us out with a few things. Take less than 5 minutes, and we can look at sending you some swag as well. So I'll send you some details on that if you're interested. Next Tuesday, same time, same place, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Again, type in the topic you want to hear more about for next week so that we can do that. Also, go to dohardmoney.com foreclosure-letter so that you can make sure you can get a copy of that. Excuse me. And go over to dohardmoney.com/getting started if you're looking for help for getting started as well. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. All right, guys, let's see. Is it over already? It is, George. This is where we come to the bottom of the discussion for today. I hope it's been really helpful. I hope Investor's Edge was helpful for you. We were able to show, some of those cool things that you can do in Investor's Edge. I will show you one other thing, actually, if you're interested. Let's just take, let's see, George, where are you from, man? Let me just come back up here. Where? Maryland. Okay. Maryland. I need it. Baltimore. Whoops, I'm spelling it wrong. This computer's not great to work with. Error. I've got two of them. This is our recording computer, so it's can be a pain sometimes. Okay, there we go. Okay, so Baltimore, Maryland. Okay, so because I've got, let's see, George is in Baltimore, Maryland. So one of the things that I've done is I've created all these buckets. So one of the things you can do, this is active homes that are on the MLS, so that have $50,000 worth of equity. They're single family homes. So there's 1,637 of those in Baltimore. Vacant homes. So right now there's 4,749 vacant homes. They're single family. They're not listed, but they have $50,000 more of equity. There's 856 homes that have a $5,000 or greater lien, single family, unlisted, with $50,000 of equity. Bankruptcy. There are 1,329 homes in bankruptcy that are single family, not listed on the MLS. That's what not listed means, and have $50,000 or more of equity. Out-of-state owners. Okay, there's 4,377 out-of-state owners that are single family, not listed on the MLS, that have $50,000 of equity. Non-owner occupied. There are 24,227 non-owner occupied, single family, not listed on the MLS, that have $50,000 of equity. Pre-foreclosure, everything we've been talking about today, there's 415 single family, unlisted, not on the MLS, with $50,000 or more of equity. Now get this, there are 12,547 homes that are failed listings. So they're single family, they're not listed, and they have $50,000 or more of equity. So anyway, those are some cool things. You click on it. I mean, that one has a ton. It's going to take forever to load that. Here's 415 pre-foreclosures. You can go through these, skip trays, everything we've been talking about. So hopefully that's helpful. But guys, I really appreciate you being with us today, and everything we've been talking over. I hope this has been really helpful to you. If it has been, please help me out. What I need to have you do is leave some comments on our recorded video. Let us know that this has been helpful for you today. Give us a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Make sure you put the notification bell on, and give us some comments after on the recorded video as well. Thanks everybody for being with me today. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you real soon, and make it a very profitable day.